Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Authentic Podcast with Justin Doulard. And thank you for tuning in to another episode. It's time!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm going to have Miss Maggie Kloza with us today, who is a good friend of mine and Lindsay's, and she's going to talk about her unique profession. She is a senior zoologist and specifically works currently with carnivores. So, Maggie, how are you doing? And give yourself a little intro.
I'm doing great today. How about you? How are you doing?
We are doing good. Lindsay and I thought you'd be a good guest to have on for a while, and then I hadn't reached out to you for a while because I was just kind of lacking behind, and then I was like, I haven't done one in a while, and so I was like, I'll get a hold of Maggie this week, and then you were like, hey, it's National Zookeeper Week, and that totally was unplanned, and that's pretty cool though the way that worked out. So happy National Zookeeper Week as well.
Well, thank you. No, a lot of people don't know about National Zookeeper Week. Actually, I didn't know about it until I started the profession myself. It's actually a new thing in the last couple of years, but I know the zoo likes to do some fun things for us. Like today, we actually had a happy hour, and had some food trucks at the zoo, right after hours, and all of us got together and everything. But like you said, I'm a senior zoologist at the zoo, and I absolutely love what I do. So I mainly work with lions, African painted dogs, cheetahs, Sumatran tigers, Asian small-clawed otters, and giant anteaters. So it's been really cool. But I've been all over the place. I've been more than just a carnivore keeper. I've worked with numerous species of hoofstock, large and small. So it's been a ride, honestly. I love what I do. It's great.
So how did you get started exactly? Was that in undergraduate college, or was that when you decided to go to grad school? Is this something you always had in mind, or did this kind of come as a passion later on and you just went with it?
So that's a really funny story. So I was actually talking to someone about this today. How every zookeeper, every zoologist has a different story, how they got started and what they do. For me, I actually went to college thinking I was going to be a physical therapist or, occupational therapist or do something more in the medical field. And I think about my senior year, I decided that wasn't for me. I was going through my classes. I was getting C's in anatomy. Who wants a doctor who got a C in anatomy? I mean, come on. Yeah. And so I realized that's something I didn't want to do. As graduation is approaching, I was getting desperate and I Googled what to do with biology degree. And zookeeping popped up and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. Okay. And I Googled how to be a zookeeper and it was like, hey, get internships. I Googled how to get internships and it just kind of, snowballed from there. There was actually a place near my home where I got an internship and it turned into a full-time job and it just kind of went from there, everything fell into place. It was actually great. But when I was growing up, I knew I loved animals, but I knew I didn't want to be a vet. The thought of, euthanizing animals or, if someone were to bring their dog or cat that got hit by a car, I would just break down and cry. I knew that wouldn't be for me. So this was actually perfect. And I'm really glad I found my calling.
Yeah, and even though your undergraduate degree wasn't necessarily animal-based, it was, more science generic with biology, you did get your master's in something very animal-related. Is that correct or no?
Yeah, no. So I just kind of went with, organismic biology. You can branch out from there as, for my undergrad. And then after about a year or so of zookeeping, I got burnt out. I didn't think I wanted to be a zookeeper anymore. And I actually looked more into different programs and I found a really cool program in England and it happened to be zoo conservation biology. So I thought I wanted to get more into the research field, go from there, maybe do more research through zoos. And then that year when I was gone from zookeeping, I actually missed it. And Yeah, but I got my master's in zoo conservation biology, and I actually use that every single day now that I work in that field. It's amazing.
So we're going to dive right into it. You said there was a point in time where you were kind of burnt out and maybe thinking about different career options or just a different way to go. I'm going to assume that there's quite a bit of burnout and turnover in the zoo, mainly just because you guys, I don't know, I think might be underappreciated. And I'm sure you can agree that you're probably, you don't do it for the money, probably underpaid, because a lot of it is nonprofit work. Is that correct?
No, that is correct. Some facilities are more lucky than others. The facility I was at before wasn't as lucky as the one I'm at now. So, like I said, I did get burnt out. I was working 40 to 60 hours a week. I didn't get overtime. It was pulling teeth to try to get some time off. It was a lot of hard work. It's a lot of physical labor, and more than just physical labor, it's a lot of like mental stress as well, especially working with carnivores. You have that like, hey, did I check that lock, or what's going on here? I have dreams about it. I'm like, oh gosh, I didn't check that third lock at work, But no, it's a lot of like mental stress as well as like physical labor. And I know, like I said, I worked sometimes like 60 hours a week. I had 2 days off a week as well. It was getting hard, and at that point I was like, is this what I want to do? Like, do I want to do this anymore? But
How
I
do
knew
they
I wanted to be in the field. So
how do they avoid paying overtime? Is it something like because it's like an agricultural style field, or is that
so
just like
for
your
that,
organization, or
it was more because it was nonprofit. It could get away with that. And so with that nonprofit work, it's more of a passion than anything. Like I said too before, some nonprofit organizations are luckier than others. So they have more money to give that over time. They have that money and that resources to let people off. Of my other facility, we didn't have that. So like I said, it was like pulling teeth trying to get time off because we had limited people who could do what we did. And the reasoning behind that is money. So all of
sure?
that, it kind of sucks.
Well, and I told you we got questions from people who were going to listen, and so I kind of want to pepper those in. I don't like to do them all in a row. I kind of like to pepper them in as the topics come. So, with that, I was going to ask, uh, what would be the most crazy or scary experience that you've had while in the profession? And the reason that made me think of that is because you talked about, pretty high stress. You're always kind of double and triple checking yourself. So,
So the craziest and wildest like experience I can think of, it doesn't have to pertain to carnivores, which is the funny thing with that. So like I said, I've worked with an array of host stock, and this past year, do you know what an addix is or anything? Like, are
mm,
people familiar with an addix?
I don't think so. I would explain that one, at least for me anyway.
So they are mainly, you can find them like in the Sahara. They're desert hoofstock, from Africa. They kind of have, they're not kudu. You think kudu with the spiral horns. These guys kind of have spirally horns, but not like the kudu. They're a little smaller than kudu, mid-size, kind of have that X marking in their face. But typically we won't go in with them. We do everything protected contact. They would be kind of stubborn to shift off exhibits, so we would go in with bully boards. That would be our protective thing to try to get them off exhibits, just because they're like, yeah, no, we want to stay out here, and you're like, you can't stay out there, we got to clean it, eventually. But anyway, so we have to with host stock, it's normal to ship them out, and they're going to go breed, especially with like critically endangered host stock, which addicts are. So we happen to have to catch them up. It's better than, sedating them. You don't have to go through that stress, making sure that they recover properly or anything. So we had to actually grab them. That was the scariest part. They have these big horns. They could actually impale you. So what we had to do is we had to get them in a small space. And then there was like 4 or 5 of us. We would go in with a bully board. The first person drops the bully board, grabs their horn, and then everybody comes over and just kind of pushes them up against the wall, and then the doctors will come in, the veterinarians will come in, kind of check them, and we were doing like a TB test, that's only a skin test, so it's 5 seconds, so not worth the sedation. So I remember that's one of the scariest things I've had to do is go in with an addict. I think I was one of the seconds, and I would have to go in there and like get them against the wall, and they could buck you, they could turn around, horn you. To me, I remember I was standing outside, and we were all taking turns, and in the small space, you hear a bam, 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 and you're like, oh crap, I have to go in there next. I don't want to. Yeah, so to me, that was one of the coolest. And after you do that first addict, you're like, okay, I'm ready for the next one. Let's go. It's exhilarating, honestly. But to me,
Yeah.
I was scared to do it. I was like, do I have to do this really?
Yeah, I'm sure your heart rate was like in the 170s or something crazy like that.
No, I was just like, I'm out. Bye. Like after that, I saw that first one. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do this. But I signed up for it, and after that one, you're like, okay, I can do this. And we did that I think about 5 times. But like I said, it's easier for the animal, easier for us. We don't have to sedate them. Sedations can be harmful to them, and it can take a long time for them to recover. So with them, catch them for 5 minutes and then just release them, and they're on their way. They might be a little like shaken up, and then they get over it within a couple minutes. They're like, oh, okay, we're fine. So
We don't have to talk about it for long because, I mean, we could probably talk about it forever, but it's definitely a hot topic, especially with the zoo world. I'm sure you know, whenever the pandemic, when Tiger King came out, especially, well, you're not from Oklahoma, you're from Texas, but, being from Oklahoma, everyone thinks that, like, Joe Exotic or you've seen him and all this, but in the zoo world, when Tiger King came out, obviously you guys are probably severely disappointed in it as a whole, but what was the reaction, in detail for most of you guys? I mean, I assume you guys probably knew this stuff way before it came out on Netflix, correct?
yeah, I mean, it's something. I mean, I say Tiger King was like a double-edged sword. It had its good parts and its bad parts. Of course, I watched it, that first week. I watched it within a couple days. The whole thing, even Carol Baskins, she's shady. So that
was a question we had. If you think that she's any better than Joe Exotic, and I had said, in my opinion, when you watch that documentary, one of the guys that worked for him I think he basically said that like there's different levels to it, and they're all their own kind of crazy, but they're all batshit crazy.
Yeah, I agree to that, and especially being, like I said, I've worked at other facilities. I've worked in the sanctuary, especially being in that world. It's a whole different kind of world. Like those people are a bit crazy, honestly. And like I said, it's a double-edged sword. So I think Tiger King presented a lot of good topics. A lot of people didn't know what was going on. That I like, one of my favorite facts is that there's more captive tigers in Texas than there are in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there's a lot of privately owned tigers within not only Texas but all over the states. And I think it kind of presents that topic pretty well and everything, but then it also glorifies Joe Exotic in a way where people are like, oh, I want to be like him. I want to own tigers like him. If he can own tigers, I can own tigers. I think too, you get both of those, and I think it's like that with any topic like that.
See,
honestly,
I think it takes I don't know if the word special is right, but it takes a very unique person to say, I want to own a tiger. So there's several zoos, which is a question I have for you too, that, Oklahoma, Arkansas, probably Texas too, probably everywhere, like Joe's Zoo, you can go and hold baby tiger cubs, which I think almost anyone on the earth, besides, being educated about how bad that is for them, would want to do that. Who would want to hold and pet a baby tiger cub? But, add me on that list, if it was a good thing for them. But I don't think the average person is like, I've never been like, I want to own a tiger. Like, I don't care how much money I had, how much land I had, anything. I would never want to own a tiger. I feel like that's just,
no.
I mean, if you look at the people that do own tigers, even like the celebrities, they were all pretty crazy too. Like I'm a Mike Tyson fan, but he's kind of insane. So, and then a lot of like the famous drug lords, like El Chapo and gosh, who's the other one? I can't remember his name. The older guy, but anyways, he owned like wild zoo animals. So I think the documentary, it was very entertaining, and then after it kind of wore off, you're like, wow, that's really sad. And then I think it brought out, in my opinion anyway, it brought out a lot of good awareness, because I think there's a lot of people, at least for myself too, and other people I know, like maybe say 5-6 years ago, like I'd been to a zoo similar to Joe's. It's in Gentry, Arkansas. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Yeah, I know that's a big
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
And then like 2 or 3 years down the road, you kind of think about it, and then you read these articles, and then you see documentaries like that, and you're like, wow, that's really terrible. And they're really good at hiding their legal issues. Like I remember I had went, and then a couple years later, someone had shared an article and basically all the charges that they had against them. But maybe just because they're dealing with animals and they're in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, that like they're not pursued as much as they should by the law. So, but anyways, I think those documentaries actually do a little bit of good and make you realize that, like, hey, you probably shouldn't go to those places, and here's what goes on after you pet the tiger cub and walk away.
No, I think that's what they were really aiming for. But like I said, you have that small population that's like, oh, this glorifies it. But no, I think Tiger King did some really good things. Actually, the Big Cat Safety Act was actually passed like through federal law, and it was like voted in the House of Representatives and everything. And I remember it just being a huge deal. And so because of Tiger King, that was brought on. And of course, Carol Baskin was part of that. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of hers either. She was, part of, breeding and all that too. I'm not a big fan of anyone really in that documentary, but it did bring out great awareness, really. And I think people are more open to it and realize what's going on. But then, they made that new zoo kind of like outside of, what was it?
Outside of
the casino.
Thackerville?
Yeah, just
Yep.
right there. And people would just, I remember seeing like pictures of people flocking to it and supporting it. And just because it was part of Tiger King, it's things like that, and it's just kind of like you don't want to support things like that.
Sure. I mean, there's still people that, they think that, I guess that owning, like you said, that small percentage population that thinks like that's okay and it's a business, and like it's, technically a lot, not all, but a lot of the things they were doing, or at least on paper, were legal. Like you can legally own these things.
Right.
Now they were
yeah.
breaking laws behind the scenes, but obviously it looks like it's really hard to bust those guys or break them down, or, I think people talk about it often that, it's typically humans before animals. And I think we have enough crime to deal with as far as with humans. And that's why, maybe that side of the world doesn't get a lot of attention.
No, I totally get it. And especially here in Texas, like if you have the papers, you can own an exotic animal. Like it sucks, but if you have the right documentation, you can own one.
Well, that's a lot about, excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought, but that's how the, all those snakes in the Florida Everglades got down there, from people owning those. And then, I mean, I could be wrong, but I want to say they said that people would flush them down the toilet,
yeah.
or just, like go let them out. And now they're like like a real problem down there.
No,
the pythons
it's an invasive species. Like I know right now people just want to go hunt them, like boas and pythons
Mhm.
and all that.
Yeah, they can't kill them fast enough.
Right, no, and the way they reproduce, it's crazy. No, it's like things like that. They become an invasive species. And I know the big topic too is, I don't know if you heard about the tiger that was loose in Houston just like, last month? 2 months ago?
I did not hear about that.
Yeah, I know. It was a big deal.
What happened?
They couldn't find the tiger. So I think it was pictured, and they were trying to find it. Sorry, my cat's getting in the way. I know. They were trying to find it, and then it just disappeared. They were trying to track it down. I think they finally found it, and now it's at a sanctuary somewhere. So
this was a privately owned animal?
Yeah, this is, I don't know if it was privately owned or if it was legally owned. I can't remember. But I just remember it being a big deal. It was shown and it went missing, and no one knew where it went. And then they finally found it.
A question that we kind of had on topic like that was that I wanted to add in. Would you ever consider owning an exotic animal of your own?
No,
Never.
not at all. I mean, first off, all the topics we talked about, and then and it's just expensive. It really is. Like going to the zoo every day, seeing what they eat, and I don't think I could keep up with their daily care on my own. And like I said, they wouldn't even get the proper care if they were on my own. Like I live in like, 500 square foot apartments. You don't want a tiger in that, honestly. They need, the proper space, the proper care, proper enrichment, all of that jazz. So yeah, it wouldn't be plausible. I know a lot of people have like, exotic birds. I think that's a little different. Birds are my expertise, but I would never own like a monkey or a big cat or anything. I mean, domestic cats, that's all I can handle at this point.
Um, there's clearly differences in zoos, and I think a lot of people know that now with modern internet and documentaries, and you can read reviews and Google anything and everything nowadays at the palm of your hands. But there is a lot of stigmas about zoos, being negative, and sometimes they kind of mix together, whether you're on a bad one or not. Like obviously the organization you work for is probably a credible and good one, unlike the ones like Gentry or the one in Wynnewood. But for people that have negative things to say about the zoo as a whole, saying animals should be more in the wild and stuff like that, what is your opinion on that negativity, and how do you typically handle that criticism?
Well, like especially like with the organization I work with, it's under AZA, which is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. So that is just one big organization. They kind of keep you have to keep like up to standards, like up to protocols, everything to be in that organization. So they do come and check and make sure that, say, your habitats are in place, like the animals are getting the certain care, all that stuff. And so they come and kind of keep you in check, really. So anything that is AZA accredited, I would say, is a good zoo. But I honestly see where they're coming from. I like to say, like, in a perfect world, I wish zoos didn't have to exist. Unfortunately, zoos are there. A lot of people think it's for entertainment, but I like to say it's more for, conservation and education. So there are a lot of species that would not exist, that would be considered extinct if it weren't for zoos. Actually, I worked with a few species that were extinct in the wild, but they were still here in zoos, and that was a pretty cool thing, like knowing that, hey, these guys are extinct in the wild and I'm working with these really rare animals and I'm making a difference. Like we were part of breeding programs, like we had calves out of that program. It was pretty cool. And so there has been like successes too.
What can the average human do to help conservation efforts? You talk about like zoos needing lots of support, and a lot of them are nonprofits. Besides going to the zoo and buying things, or being a member of the zoo, I know helps quite a bit. What can the average person do for those conservation efforts?
So I like to really talk about like reducing your carbon footprint. So I know it's kind of hard, especially in the States. We don't have, the transportation systems and, taking the buses every day. Like I said, I've lived in England. They really had it together. You could take a bus everywhere. You walked everywhere. Everything was very accessible that way. Here it's a little bit harder, but I like to kind of like, if you can carpool, carpool. And then also recycling is a huge thing. It's a small thing, but it's huge. So what I like to do is I actually have a stockpile of like reusable bags for like grocery shopping and everything in my car. And so every time I go to the grocery store, I just grab one of those bags. And plus, you can carry a lot more instead of having like 10 bags on your arms. This is so much easier. Like, believe me, it's a life changer. It's great. So it makes your life easier, and it helps like reduce that plastic that you'll use for a plastic shopping bag. And I know there's like, but I think other states might do it, but I know like in England you would have to pay money to use those bags, and really helps like influence people be like, hey, I want to use my own bag. Use your backpacks, all that good stuff. And then also, I really like to preach about sustainable palm oil. A lot of products do have palm oil in there. And I don't work for the zoo, but I do like to preach about Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, and I know you're familiar with it.
I am.
And yeah, so they have a really cool app. So you download that app, and then you can just scan the barcode, and if it tells you if whatever product you're buying and stuff, if it's sustainable and it's good for the environment. And so I know they like to preach about the orangutans. That's just an umbrella species. So it helps like take care of all the species in like Southeast Asia. So orangutans, you have your tigers, so you have smaller species too, different monkey species, everything. So that goes under that umbrella too. So again, sustainable palm oil, reduce, reuse, recycle, and then reducing your carbon footprints. And also, don't use straws. I know. I'm still working on that one, but if you have metal straws, use your metal straws. If you don't have to use a straw, don't. I'm sure you guys have seen, those videos where sea turtles get straws up their nostrils, and it's heartbreaking.
Sure.
And things like that. And then I like to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Yeah, no, and I like to, like, if I'm going on walks and everything, there's a little lake right where I live. Pick up a couple pieces of trash every single day. There's little things that you can do.
Yeah, we do have the bags. I think all the things you named help, the entire planet, not just animals like humans and everything. But we have the bags and we take those. I always thought that so like you go to Sam's Club and they don't have bags; they have boxes sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you have to, like, if we forget our bags, we just put it in the trunk and you have to carry it in. I always thought Walmart should kind of adapt that because, Sam's Club, Walmart, same company. You have to bring your own bags or your own boxes. It's bigger stuff, but I mean, in my opinion, a place like Walmart could do that because if you don't have bags, like, people are definitely still going to shop at Walmart, right? So they'll adapt. They'll bring their own bags or they'll put it in the cart and they'll make it work. So, and I mean, for those companies, it saves them money too.
Right. Like I said, like having to pay for your bags, that kind of deterred me from, using those bags. I'm like, I don't want to pay for my 10 cents for that bag. I'm just going to bring my own, I'm sure if they started doing that, people would bring their own bags.
Yeah, and then you talk about the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. First, kind of it was a surprise, but it was a while. So when we went, which was, gosh, it's been a month or so ago, maybe longer. We got you a little something. Lindsay and I did. Lindsay got it, and we shipped it. But for some reason, the post office charged it as an envelope, and then it wouldn't fit. So they just sent it back to us like 5 days ago. We had no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was weird. So because they charged us an envelope, but it was actually a package. But long story short, I went back to the post office, and I think you're going to get it Friday. So.
Ooh, I'm excited.
You were supposed to literally have, I mean, I can't remember when we went to the zoo. I'll have to look it up, but we sent it like a week later and it just now got back, but it is on the way. We went.
Ooh, I'll check my mailbox for that.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow or Friday, but we went the 1st of June. Really enjoyed it. Did you see my video with the giraffe?
Yeah, I did. No, I was like, oh, no. I thought Cheyenne Mountain Zoo was really cool. All those giraffes, that was a lot of giraffes.
Yeah, really cool. I definitely went to the geotag on Instagram and people were feeding them lettuce and I was like, I have to do that because I'm a giant kid. And then they were like feeding
it. You made out with the giraffe.
Yeah, feed it directly out of the mouth. And then that thing got all up on me. So that was fun though.
I bet it was a better kisser than Lindsay.
Oh yeah, I got a little more. So speaking of Lindsay, she has some good questions. I don't know if she told them to you or not, but
no, she did not. She's keeping it a surprise for me.
Good. Well, we'll start with one for her. And I think I know this answer. I think she does too. But the most influential animal that you have worked with that put the fire in your heart for conservation?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I do have one that sticks out the most. It's a tiger for sure. I thought so. Yeah, I know that's what I worked with the most when I first started and everything. But one tiger that really just changed everything for me. And just looking into her eyes and growing that bond with her, I was like, I want to make the world better for you. If anything I can do, I'll make the world better for you.
And I assume that's the tattoo or not?
No, so the tattoo is my lion. At my old facility. He was actually the first big cat I have ever worked with. He did spark a fire too, but my tiger was, she's my true love. But he did spark a fire in me. He was the first cat I ever worked with when I was an intern. I remember them be like, okay, close the gate on him, and he comes up and goes in my face, and I was like, I think I got in the wrong thing. I'm done. Okay, bye. Like, it's scared me to pieces. Like I was like, no, no, no. But I got used to it, and me and him ended up like having this little bond, and he would do that just to mess with me, and then I'd be like, okay, go away, and he'll be like, oh, okay, fine, I'm out. No, but no, he was cool too. I liked him. Kind of an asshole, but I still love him.
I assume you have to have seen those crazy videos. There's like, I mean, YouTube is a never-ending rabbit hole, right? But the video of the guy, and if not this exact one, maybe one similar, but there was like a guy who helped raise a lion cub in the wild, like brought him
Oh,
in,
the guy
and
that's
then
like part of the pride and goes with them and everything. That
no,
that
this
YouTube
one's
video.
like he helped take care of this one when he was little, and he goes away for like 10 or so years, and he
Oh
comes back to
yeah.
visit him, and the tiger like like quote unquote mauls him with love and like recognizes him. Have you seen that?
No, I know. I saw that a couple of years ago. I do remember that. So a lot of people are like, ah, these guys, they won't remember you and everything. They do. They have a great memory. They are incredibly smart. Like I said, like the little tiger I used to work with, she was just a little cub when I left, and then I come back and I volunteer at my old place. And so when I saw her for the first time in I think like a year, she comes up, she's like and like chatting to me, and everyone's like, I've never heard her do that before. I go, she used to do that to me all the time. So they definitely remember who you are and everything. They, like I said, they are intelligent creatures,
Where
and
do
so it's
you
really
where do you
cool.
draw the line between, because obviously you do this for work, and you're super safe about it and probably have protocols that you have to follow, but where do you draw the line for those people that obviously they have a relationship with these big cats, but then for the people that overstep their boundaries, even if like for example the tigers or the lions are super comfortable with him, when do you think they're going too far and like getting way too close to these animals and being too comfortable? Because at the end of the day, as people say, they are still a wild animal, and
Yeah,
could snap.
so
So
Yeah, so everything we do is through protected contact. We will never enter a space with these guys. So you can form a relationship through a fence, through, protection and everything. I think overstepping that line is like eliminating that barrier to me. I would never go in with a tiger, never go in with a lion. Even if you trust them with all your heart, there's one thing that could set them off. It could be like an external stimuli. It doesn't have to be from you. It could be from anything. It could set them off in a second, and you could be in the middle of it. And so there, I say going in with him is drawing that line to me right there. Even if you form this bond with him, I would never.
another question that Lindsay had that was a good one. During the pandemic, when things were closed and people were holed up in their house, could you see a difference in the animals with not a lot of people around? And if so, was that more of a negative influence, or would that be a positive influence?
And to that, it kind of depended on the animal itself. Some animals are more social than others. I think some of the primates missed having the people around. I know we have a little zoo group, and they're like, "Hey, come visit our mandrill. He misses having, people to look at." So we would just go over and visit him, like during our days. And I know we have a giraffe that's really social, and he was hand raised, so he loves the attention from other people. So every time we would go over there, he would like just stare straight at us, and he'd be like, "Hey, attention, yeah, this is great." It honestly really depends on the animal, but I feel like most of them are really used to having crowds, and to me, seeing the different people and everything is entertaining to them in a way. And I know, like, where I was during the pandemic, we didn't have a lot of, people in the back and everything, so they didn't care less if there was someone there or not. Like I said, it really depended on the animal. Usually, mainly social animals, they do like the public and like seeing what they're doing, and it's kind of to them enrichment in a way.
Yeah, I will never not be fascinated by chimps and apes at just how ridiculously human like they are. I know there's like, that debate, or there's science that, we share similar DNA with them, or, there's people that say we came from apes, and I don't know if we did or not. I took two science classes in college, and I barely passed them. But when we go to the zoo and you see a chimp or an ape, it just reminds me of like a man. It's crazy.
No, they have this look in their eyes, and the thing is, they're so intelligent. It's insane. I haven't worked with the chimps, but I started kind of working closely with the gorillas lately, and I didn't think I was a grade 8 person or anything, but I fell instantly in love with the gorillas. I
Those
love them.
videos,
They're great, honestly.
those
Yeah, go
those
ahead.
videos of them that you see they're far and few between, but they do happen, of them uh, doing very human-like things. Those are they're so fascinating, but two, they scare me. They're creepy because it's like that is just too human-like. Like, uh, for example, it's not a good one, but I saw that one had picked up a zookeeper or a guest's cigarettes,
Oh,
and
what?
yeah, I swear there's videos on that on YouTube. It
Oh,
would,
I'm sure they like watch people do that, and they're like, yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna
and
do
it
that.
had smoked cigarettes, and then I think there was somebody that was agging them on to and giving it to them, but it was a smoking
Huh.
gorilla. And then there was the one of them walking more upright on their feet for long periods of time,
Yeah,
or
that's called like being bipedal, and so they're like,
yeah, there
yeah,
you go.
yeah, I'm gonna do
That's the
that.
proper term. And then you see some of those videos of them doing or building very, very human-like structures that aren't very common amongst themselves. So,
No, they're really cool. Like I don't know if you saw the video of they're all like crunched under like the structure, and they're afraid of the rain. They're like, no, you go, no, you go, and they're like,
oh,
oh, okay, and they like run by Peter like by like, oh, I don't want to be caught in the rain, and they just like sprint by.
see,
But
that's just like a human, like when you're leaving a building, you're like count to three, 1, 2, 3, take off to the car, like get in there so you dodge the rain.
no, that's exactly what they were doing. They have, but a lot of people think that they're like scary and everything. Like I think gorillas are just big softies, really. They get like really skittish and scared about like little things. And like I said, I don't work with them much, but the few times I have, it's really captured my hearts. And I'm just like, oh, this is different. This is not what I thought they would be like. They're really cool.
How would you say that most zookeepers or yourself, on a day-to-day basis, keep the animals entertained? Is there anything unique or different that we wouldn't suspect that you keep them entertained?
So I know I've mentioned the term enrichment, and so I have written down the definition here.
Thank you.
So here's the definition of enrichment because I don't have it in my head because I have too many things, but I wrote it down. It's to enhance the quality of the captive animal care by identifying and providing the environmental stimuli necessary for optimal psychological and physiological well-being. So in a sense, it's just for them something different, something that they don't get every single day. So there's different types of enrichment that we like to do. So there's food enrichment, the sensory enrichment, social enrichment, cognitive enrichment, and then environmental enrichment. And so we kind of incorporate a little bit of a different enrichment each day. So food enrichment could be, you scatter feed them for the day. That you don't just hand them their food, that they have to go find their food. So you don't do that every day. So I think, today we've scattered fed like a couple of our tigers. So, okay, you have to go out in the habitat to find your food, do tiger things. And then sensory enrichment could be, like auditory. You can play them different sounds. I know I played like otter sounds to lions before, and they're like, what the heck is that? Otters like to scream. They're like, ah! It's really great. And they're like, oh God, that's you guys have to listen to that every single day. The lions not. They're like,
super
yeah,
super annoyed.
okay. Yeah, they're like, what is coming from your phone? Like what? Really intrigued by that. So you want kind of that that outcome from them. And then you have your visual enrichment. We actually have a projector that we play. You can choose different videos. Like one time I was playing SpongeBob for our cheetah. She really liked that.
Wow.
And then yeah, I know it's different things like that. Or you can play savannah scenes to the lions, and they see the gazelle, and they're just watching like, oh yeah, this is great. And then you have like your olfactory stimuli. So like any like perfume, senses. Like today I was spraying very sexy for our tigers. They love that smell.
You
They
love
were
perfume?
all, yeah, very sexy. It's a big hit. And then also we like to give them, so I may call like some of my old like hoofstock friends, like, hey, can you give me like the nastiest pea hay you have? And they
Pea
bag
hay?
that up, and then yeah, pea hay, like
What is that?
pea, like like hay they urinate in.
Oh, literally like hay that has been
Yeah,
peed
yeah,
on.
pea hay. And
Okay.
so you're like, give me like the nastiest hay you have. So sometimes like, hay that they urinate them, and then you like just dump it in their stall, and then the lions come in and they roll in it and they love it. We've given them like, elephant sand. That's stinky. Yeah, elephants are stinky.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
look stinky.
they loved it. They were just like rolling in it. The whole barn smelled like elephant. I wasn't a fan of it. So they liked it, but I wasn't a big fan. And
Yeah.
then you have like your cognitive enrichment. So we have puzzle feeders. Um, we have one. There's this one enrichment item. It's called the Amazing Graze, and it literally looks like a penis. Like, I kid you not. We call it the green penis. I'll have to send you a picture of it, but
Yes, please do. Of the green
it is
penis.
like phallic shaped, and it has holes in it, and you can put meat in it, different things. But yeah, I don't know why it looks like a penis. I'm sure a man designed it. Yeah, but it's called the Amazing Graze. So it's like things like that. They have to roll that piece of like enrich that penis around for them to get that meat out. Yeah, no, this is, yeah. No puns intended, maybe. I don't know.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then you have your environmental enrichment. So, like, it could be simple as, finding sticks and setting up stick teepees. I like to do that for our hoofstock and even our tigers. I'd like to knock it down. Different substrates like hay. When we had that huge snowstorm, they weren't allowed to go outside. It was too cold for them, but we would bring snow in for them, and they would roll around in it and love it and everything. So that's environmental enrichment. So different things like that, and it's different every single day. So we try to change it up.
Have you excuse me. I never got to ask this earlier, but how long have you been in the profession?
So I have to think about this. With internships or without internships?
Either.
That's okay. So
Uh, you can say with. I think those count.
so it's going to be in September. It's going to be my 3 month or 3 year anniversary at the zoo. So I would have been at the zoo I work at for 3 years, plus maybe 4.5, almost 5 years. So I would say almost 5 years in the field. But I did take that year break to go get my master's. So
Sure.
if I didn't do that, I would have more, but I don't regret that at all.
Yeah, no, no way. I knew you had a blast when you were there. So
Oh
what
yeah,
would
more than a blast. It was great.
what does like the career trajectory for you look like? Like, because I know, zookeepers, like you said, it's never about the money. It's about the passion, and you love doing what you do. So, I guess being in it anywhere between 3 to 5 years with your internship, what are your next steps as far as the career? And do you guys promote easily, or do you kind of stay where you're at for a long time? And I'm going to assume that you've made up your mind and you're going to do this for forever.
So it really depends where you're at, your experience and everything. With me, I recently just got promoted. We kind of have at my facility, they call zookeeper zoologists. So I've been all different levels of zoologists so far at my facility up to what I am now. So they had an on-call zoologist, which I was part-time, even though being full-time before that, it's just hard. I had to get my foot in the door to make it in this facility. So on-call zoologist, and then you could become a full-time zoologist. So it's just regular zoologist. And then now my title is senior zoologist. So I'm slowly making my way up. Next would be lead. And then after that, probably like assistant supervisor, and then associate curator, and then curator. So my goal is hopefully to climb up that ladder. And again, too, the reason I got my master's, I think a lot of people are like, it's not going to do anything. You need more experience than anything. But I think my master's has kind of help highlight my career a little bit. It's a little bit different than what most people would do, and I think that's helped me stand out. But I love what I do. I don't think I could physically be a zookeeper the rest of my life. It's too physically demanding. I already feel like I'm almost 60 years old, and when I'm 30 going on 60 basically. Yeah, but that's why I would like maybe to be a curator. That's less demanding work. You still get to be in the field, but you kind of coordinate what happens like within your departments.
A little less labor.
Yeah, so that's the end goal right there. But right now, I'm physically capable of doing what I can do, and I love it. I don't think I could do a desk job. I had a desk job. I would fall asleep at the desk. It wasn't good. No, but this helps me stay awake, even though we wake up super early. I'm not a morning person, but you
Same.
know what? I get through it. Honestly,
What
it's fine.
what kind of continuing education opportunities do they have for you guys in the field? Do they do anything like that, or is it just kind of on your own and on the job experience?
It really depends. Like, they do have like classes you can take and everything, and we do have conferences we can go to. So if you work your way enough, you get your name out there, you can be like, hey, I wanted to go to this conference, and then if you go to the conference, basically you have to come up with a study and kind of showcase that study. So it's all up to you, but basically for like continuing like education and everything, that's on you. Like, they won't send you to go get, your master's. That's got to be on your own. But like I said, usually like continuing education is like more conferences. They do have like, special classes you could attend like through like, AZA, different things like that. But if you want to get a degree, that's you.
Would you say that this career field per se is a hard one to break into, or is it easier? I guess I just asked that because, it's probably a small world, a unique one, and but a small one at that. So would you say it's hard to break into, or is it a little easier than you would expect?
Oh, it's definitely really hard.
I assumed it was.
No, I got really lucky. A lot of people actually have to have multiple internships that doesn't even count as like, experience. Like, unpaid internships don't count as, paid experience. So usually you would have like 2 or 3 internships, and then to get that paid experience, you'll have to get a part-time job.
So you're
And
saying
then
like if it's an unpaid experience that you're just kind of just doing it for your own education, but it really doesn't count on paper?
no, like if you probably most likely won't get a full-time job right off the bat from an internship. So what you'll have to do is have a couple internships, and then so the part-time ones are like for mainly new zookeepers, and so like at my facility, the on calls or whatever, they like to hire from the intern pool and look at their experience and see what they have had. And so they would be probably an on-call for, say, 6 months to a year, and then be hired on as full-time. It really depends, honestly. I got lucky. I was an intern for 6 months, and then I got hired on full-time right off the bat. So everyone has like a different story, and that's what's the cool thing.
So do you got a lot of these people trying to get on at the zoo, doubling down on their OnlyFans when they're trying to get hired full time? So doing both, making it work.
Yeah, you gotta check mine out. Jokes.
That's awesome. What advice would you give somebody trying to get into the career field? Because you took a different route. You didn't even really know until it was, kind of late in your college career, which isn't unorthodox for anybody in any career field. But I'm sure if you could go back and do things a little differently, you would have 1 or 2 things to say to people that knew right away. So what would that be?
No, I wish I knew right away when I was in college, because most internships you can get like by your sophomore year. So I wish I got internships maybe in the summers when I went home, kind of got more experience that way. But for me, it all worked out. I would say preach on getting as many internships as you can, and then apply. Even if you may not like think you have the qualifications for a job, still apply, get your name out there. That's a hard part. I know some people who are like, hey, I don't think I'm qualified, and you're like, still apply anyway, and then they end up getting the job anyway. And so it could be based off personality, like different things like that. It's so mainly get your degree, internships, and then don't be afraid of failure, because you will fail. I can't tell you how many interviews I've been through and how many times I've gotten that rejection email until I finally got where I am today. And so don't be afraid of rejection. It happens to everyone. It's not on you. Don't take it personal.
Yeah, I feel like when you apply for jobs, no matter what career field you're in, after you get like two or three of the rejection emails, they're kind of just mundane. You're like, oh, there's another one. Like, got to go again. So,
Yeah, I know. There was because I was part-time at the time, so I was trying to find a full-time job, and I can't tell you how many interviews I had and how close I was on a lot of them. They're like, "Hey, you made the last round, but you weren't the one that was picked." It's like you're like, okay, at least I made it on to like the second interview and things like that. And then one day you get picked for a job and you have 2-3 jobs on the plate, and you're like, oh gosh, I gotta make a decision here. And so eventually you will get to that point, and that's what happened to me recently. So
yeah, it's a good problem to have, I assume.
no, it really was. It was really hard to tell the other ones that were interested. And like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go with this option, but everyone understands it's a very competitive field.
Yeah, I had a buddy, a completely different, unrelated field, but I'm pretty sure he applied to the same company with like 6 or 7 different times for similar positions, and I think maybe 1 to 3 times he got a first round interview, and it got dropped after that. But he still kept 4, 5, and 6 times because he works for a really good company. He makes pretty good money, and people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he works there." I'm like, dude, he said he applied like 7 times. Like he went through 3 first round interviews over the course of like a year and a half and got canned. And probably just because he was younger and still kept going and finally got it. So I mean, he definitely clawed his way up there.
No, this is actually so I applied to our carnivore department. This was my 3rd time applying, and 3rd time's a charm, right? So finally got it. And there's always people who have a little bit more experience than you that get it. So like I said, just be persistent. That's what happened to me. Like 3rd time's a charm in my case, honestly.
Is there an area in the zoo that you would not want to be at?
I've never really been into reptiles. That really hasn't been
Same.
my thing. Yeah, I know. I like looking, like, we have really cool, like, Texas spiny lizards and snakes and everything, but, like, I've never held a snake. It's kind of creepy, really.
I'm not a snake fan. My mom conditioned me on that one. Your parents can condition you to certain things.
Yeah.
It could be much worse, but my mom conditioned me to hate snakes. Anytime she sees one on the TV or like, God forbid, in person, it's like a nightmare. And as a young kid, I saw that, and yeah, I know I don't react like her, but I can't. I'm not a snake fan. I can do spiders and all that, but snakes, I'm out. So
No, I did find a huge spider, about this big, I swear, in our tiger bathroom today, and I know they're good and everything. I didn't kill him. I called him Malcolm. That's his name now. He lives in our bathroom, and I just make sure when I walk in, I was like, okay, Malcolm, are you still here? Okay, bye.
you kept Malcolm around.
Yeah, no, I mean, it looked like he was getting flies and everything, and we hate flies, but yeah, I know,
Yeah, see, I would like put him in the
Still there.
shoebox and rehome him somewhere, but
No, I'm just like, I know he's there now, so I just kind of like look for him, and yeah. So like things like that. Well, if I have cockroaches in my house, that's a little different. And my cats kill
right.
that. I don't do that. Yeah, snakes too. I know I saw a rat snake at the zoo last year, and I screamed. Like it scared
That
me.
was
I
in
was about
your
to step in it. I go,
area.
"No!" Yeah, it was near the meerkats, and they could eat a meerkat. So I was just like, reptiles, can you come get this rat snake, please? And no, they do a study at my facility too. So we do have to call for rat snakes and everything. And that snake, climbed up the tree. They were like all getting it, and then finally got in the bucket, and it was like, and they got it in. Yeah, no.
What's your take on these these big cat escapes at public zoos that have happened, far and few between. Like I could be wrong, but I think one of them was San Diego within the past 10 years, and a lot of them, it might not have been San Diego. I think it was somewhere in California though. So don't hold me to that location, but it was a cat that was, and it seems like every time the cat is, what am I trying to think of? Provoked or taunted by somebody. And then it seems like, it's happened a couple of times where the cat has gotten out and it mauled the kid and chased it down, or a couple of other
Oh,
people.
I remember that. Yeah, no. Yeah, I
What's
forgot that where
your,
that was. It was like they were visiting in the middle of the night or something, right?
I have to look it up, but I mean, it escaped from
No,
its
I
enclosure, but it was taunted and provoked by this kid.
I think the kid was drunk or something. It was like two kids, and one of them was drunk. I think I remember what you're referring to.
So what are your take on those? I mean, okay, it was San Francisco. So let me see. Two tiger attacks occurred at the San Francisco Zoo, one in '06 and one in '07. So it's been a little longer than I suspected. A female Siberian tiger named Tatiana. The second incident, one person was killed and two others were injured before, and that was because it was provoked. Let's see. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Or, a little more. See.
Yeah.
It escaped
No,
from
I
an open air enclosure, killing a 17-year-old and injuring a brother.
yeah.
Um, they created a distraction. The attack was the first time a visitor had been killed by an escaped animal. 2 days after the attack, the zoo reported that while the moat was 33 feet wide, was sufficient by its national standards.
Oh no, I remember. No, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, what are your take on that? People taunting those, and I mean, obviously it's pretty rare that they escape, but they did escape from those enclosures, which is insane. And that
Right.
probably just speaks on behalf of their power and adrenaline when they're, I guess in the zone. So
No, these guys are wild animals. Like I feel like if they are provoked enough, they can do anything they put their minds to. It's kind of like if you were, a car was coming towards you, or like, a car was like over your son, and you have this, adrenaline. You could lift the
lift the
car up,
car.
something like that. I would assume it's like that, and this tiger just had this rage. And if the moat was up to standards and everything, I don't see any like habitat flaws. But after all that, I'm sure they made the moat, wider. I'm sure they added like, bigger barrier, things like that. In that instance, I would say that's just something they didn't think of when building the habitat. And then that's just on the visitors themselves, really trying to taunt this cat.
Do
It's a
you
wild animal. Like it can
do
do
you see
anything.
that? Do you see that quite a bit? People, I mean, then maybe there's levels to it, but do you see visitors often, or maybe kids, parents that aren't watching their kids, where they're definitely taunting and messing with the animals in a way that you're like, that's not wise, or they shouldn't be doing that? Is that more common than you think? I feel like people don't watch their kids when they're out in public, especially at places they know it's more of a safe environment from, like the average criminal per se.
Yeah, no, I do see things like that. Like, we do have like a glass area for our lions. They do like to nap on that area too, and you
Hmm.
have kids like knocking on the
Banging on
glass.
the
They're like,
wall, yeah.
and if I see that, I go like, hey, would you like someone banging on the glass if you were on the other side? Kind of like, kind of put it in their perspective. There was one time I was going out for a chat for one of our tigers, and I enticed them, like with a nice treat to get them up and everything. And there was one guy who was yelling at the tiger to wake up. And I go, hey, sir, can you not yell at our tigers? And he walked off. And then later I was like, Suki! Like yelling for her. And she gets up, and because, she gets a treat from it. But, I don't want guests yelling at them or anything. But you do see things like that, or, and especially the big cats, you see the little kids and they like zone in, but that's not their fault, it's not the kids' fault or anything. But if I see any like banging on the glass, I've seen people like throw things in habitats. I'm like, can you guys please not do that? You wouldn't like that if you like if someone threw something in your room or threw something at you, I try to kind of turn around and see it in a different perspective for them.
I think it's.
And
I'm
so,
sure
yeah,
everyone
you see
agrees
a
that
lot of
it's.
things like that. I'm not great with kids.
I think it's insane when you see these people that jump in the cages or jump in the areas with them just to try and get a picture or video, and or they're leaning way over where they're not supposed to be and they fall in. Um, any of that, those
Did
videos,
you see the
God,
guy with the elephant?
oh
I think that
no,
was in San Diego.
no, what happened
No,
there?
he had his kid with him, and I can't remember where it was. I think it was in California as well.
It's always in
He had his
California,
kid
right?
with him, and he goes, I know, like Californians, man, crazy. But he goes in with his kid, and I don't know if it was a bull elephant or anything, but they mock charged, and they had their ears up and everything, but they didn't charge them. And the guy, freaked out and ran out and dropped his kid, and then went back to grab the kid and everything. Yeah, I think that was just a couple months ago, if I'm correct. It's like things like that. You're just like, why? Why would you do that? You're risking your life. You're risking your kid's life. It's just, I don't know what goes through people's heads, honestly, actually, most of the time. And some questions they ask, you're like, no, no. I try to be nice as possible, but
Maybe they're
sometimes
just.
it's hard.
The only thing I can think of is maybe these people are just so like so desensitized or separated from wild animals, and they see them on TV and movies and stuff, that maybe they just they don't think that they're still as wild as they are, and they're like, I'm going to try it. And they don't realize how fast and strong and aggressive they can be, especially when you're in their space. I mean, the zoo is a limited space for them, so I feel like when you get in that box, it's like, whoa, people don't come in this box. It's mine. It's small for the most part. Stay out.
Right. I don't think they get that proper education, or I don't even know if they care. That's things like, how much do they care? You know, that's the big question.
Sure. Well, Maggie, it's been a great talk. We're running right about the time we discussed. Did you have anything else you wanted to kind of hit on or talk about before we get off here? Anything you wanted to say? Last words or any other topics we didn't hit?
Um, I honestly, zoos aren't bad. Please, I know a lot of people are like, oh, zoos, no. Visit your local zoo. Honestly, if you have to pay money to get into that zoo, it goes to conservation. I know the zookeepers work hard. The animals are, believe me, well taken care of. Like, a lot of them actually want to come inside, believe it or not. I know by midday we have some animals that are just hanging out by the gate, like,
Let
okay,
me
we're
in.
over it. Can you let us in, please? Yeah. They're like,
Sounds like
let
my
us in,
dogs.
please. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So a lot of people don't understand that. I was like, they want to be an indoor tiger today. She would rather be inside because they get AC. They get fed, I like to say, on a silver platter. And so they have a nice life, honestly. Yeah, no, support your local zoos. Really, honestly, big thing I like to preach is recycling. You don't have to recycle everything. I'm still not the best at that. But to help out, like even with your local environment and everything, get those reusable bags. That's honestly one of my favorite things. And like I said, you can haul so much in that. It's great. Um, but really just kind of be more conscientious. I can't talk, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, conscientious.
Yeah, yeah, like I said, I have a hard time with words are hard.
No, you're good.
Yeah, but honestly, support your local zoos, all that jazz. It's great.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, I know I'll definitely put some of the links to your stuff on there if you want to tell people where they can find you. I know you post a lot of really good pictures, so that might be a good thing. You're pretty good with the camera and you have a lot of exposure. So if you could tell people where to find you, and then I'll definitely put those links in there below, and then we'll let you go.
Yeah, definitely. No, I got the iPhone 12. It's great. Yeah, I know. I don't regret that. That was something I was kind of like, yeah, do I want a new phone? But yeah. Oh yeah. And then Athena is like, oh, she's being needy right now.
Your tame cat as opposed to your wild ones.
I know. This is all I need right now at home. Honestly, I can't imagine a tiger at home. No, this is my tiger.
Sure. Well, did you want people to follow you on any platforms or?
Oh yeah, no, they can follow me on anything, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's all I have. I have a TikTok, but I don't use it. I just use it for fun. Um, yeah, young kids and their TikTok these days.
Yeah, I've been
But
told I need to make one, but I know as soon as I make one, I'll just spend another 2 hours of my day on there or something. So
oh no, I go down rabbit holes on it, and it's just like, things that don't even like pertain to life. I was like, what is this? Like some things that people do for like 15 seconds to a minute are actually entertaining.
right, I'm already that way
Really
with
entertaining.
YouTube, so I don't need another platform for me to just sit and stare off into. So
TikTok is the new YouTube. That's what I'm saying.
I know I enjoy watching them when people text them to me. My mom will send me plentiful. Lindsay will send me some, and I'll definitely watch them. But I have not downloaded the app yet.
And they have a lot of good like animal TikToks and zoo TikToks and I know my facility has one, so they do good.
Yeah, maybe I should get it then.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure I'll have one eventually, but I'm holding out for now. So, well, Maggie, I really appreciate you coming on. And I always love feedback from other people. So if you enjoyed the episode, please let myself and or Maggie know. Always open to constructive criticism and comments. And if you have other interesting guests who do unique things like Maggie, please also let me know. Would love to have other people like herself on. Maggie, keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the hard work, and glad you found something that you're passionate about and you get to do it every day. So
Yeah, me too. No, and thanks for having me on. No, this is great. I love spreading my experience and everything I do, and it's like I said, it's unique and it's something I don't really think about as being unique because it's every day to me. So it's cool to tell people what I do.
yeah, absolutely. No, happy National Zookeeper Week. I hope they treat you good like they did tonight, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.